Hi, I'm Dr. Pam Jarbo. Welcome to Life Matters TV.
Hi, I'm Dr. Steve Jarbo.
Today we're going to talk about your immune system and how to keep it strong. We're going to touch on ear infections and the flu, and just in general keeping a healthy immune system.
We'll also be going over some supplements that might help boost your immune system to help your body be stronger and stronger.
And we'll be doing a book review.
So welcome to the show.
So today we're going to talk about the immune system. We got a bunch of different topics for you, and what we hope to do is to encourage you to find your one little piece that can help your nervous system to function better. So we look at this from some different aspects. Like if we look at a patient and they have some challenges in this department, we might think, okay, what can you do to decrease physical stress, chemical stress, or emotional stress in order to help your body to adapt to the current circumstances. And so with physical stress, we always look at the nerve system and the structure of the body. How can we help that to not have so much obstruction or blockage or what we call subluxation? So we address that in the office. And today, I think in our conversation, we want to talk about chemical stress first. So,
Okay. So, excuse me, for chemical stresses, oftentimes, people might not be eating the right foods. You might be eating too much junk food, too many breads, sugars, alcohol, sweets. These things all depress our immune system and actually make us sicker and sicker. So sometimes during the holiday season, people are going to more parties, you're eating more sweets, more junk food, you might be drinking more than you normally do. And this actually depresses your immune system. And so then it might lead your body to get sicker and sicker, and you might be more suspect to catch a cold or the flu or stomach bugs and things like that. So one of the things we suggest is to monitor and be aware of what you're eating, what you're drinking, and remember that the best things to eat are things that are made on earth. You know, God made and gave it to us on earth, and we grow certain things. And so the more whole foods that you eat and drink more water and herbal teas and less sweets, less sugars, less caffeine, less alcohol, it'll help your body be a little bit stronger.
I'm disappointed about this. That means that Twinkies are not good, right?
Twinkies
That's what you're saying?
aren't the food of choice.
Well, there goes breakfast. But I'm kidding. I actually have never eaten a Twinkie ever in my life. And so not going to remedy that anytime soon. But what I wanted to say is that I think about it like to make food easy, because a lot of times patients are like confused about what's good food. I think about your body is like a chemistry experiment. So if you ever took a chemistry class in high school, you took these liquids and you would apply them to a piece of paper, and the paper would either turn pink or blue, depending upon the effect that it was having on the paper. And your body's similar. So the more you can actually watch what's happening in your body as you eat different foods, do certain foods make you feel not good, nauseous or bloated or, uncomfortable or symptomatic. Some people will eat food and instantly get an itchy nose or a runny nose or start coughing. That's a sign. So the more you can start to listen to the effect that food is having, because really food is chemistry, and so we just have to pay attention to that chemistry experiment that we're doing when we're eating.
Right. So, and I've talked about this in previous episodes. A lot of the foods that people eat are causing inflammation in our body, and so those symptoms that you explained, itchy or puffiness, it's a chronic inflammation in our body. And when our body's working hard on fighting inflammation, we tend to get sicker. So that's a sign that we're getting sick, is when you have all these different symptoms. So things to combat that are more alkaline foods,
right,
to reduce the acidity in our body.
I also like to say, you're not actually getting sick. That's an interesting thing to think about. You're just getting a reaction. So if you put dirt into your car engine, you would get a reaction. The car's not sick. It's just actually having a reaction to what you put into it. And so it's similar with food. So sometimes I'll think about do I want to make this choice? If I'm already challenged, do I really want to make my body work harder by eating that donut? Is that really a smart choice at this moment? And so that's something you can just start to think about. Is that food helpful or harmful in this moment? And you can just start making choices from there.
So I tell people it's a lot of times like when you're sick, what do you want to eat? You really just want chicken soup or something that's really soothing. And so those are smarter foods to eat than if you feel like you're fighting something. That's not the time to have a meatball grinder and a pizza. those aren't going to they're not going to make you better. You have to try to pay attention to what your body wants, listen to those needs, and give your body good, wholesome food.
One of the guidelines that, many people do know this, but in case you don't, is to shop on the outside of the store. Because if the food was made in a factory, it's not as good and easy for your body to process than if it was made in a farm or, came from the earth. So that's just a great tool to use as far as making your choices.
So around the outer borders of the inside
store.
of the store. So that's where the meats, dairies, sugar,
Right.
the meats,
But not
dairies,
the aisles, right? Yeah.
right, and
'Cause
veggies and fruits.
Yeah, a lot of boxed or, if it's in a carton or in plastic, it's not always great.
Right.
So yeah, that's a little bit about chemistry and yeah.
So one of the main questions that we hear when we're talking about the immune system in the office is oftentimes people ask, what can we do? My child is chronically getting ear infections. Is there anything we can do to help my child get through the ear infection or help prevent ear infections? Because they don't want to put tubes in the ears, they don't want to have surgery, and obviously ear infections are very painful for the child, and then the parent feels helpless.
Yeah, and there's a lot of sleepless nights and the whole family gets stressed by it. It has a lot of ripple effects, so it's an important conversation.
Right. It's actually the number one cause for people to bring their child to the pediatrician, and 35% of all pediatrician visits are due to ear infections. So it's definitely a major issue with children, and it can be helped.
So I was just thinking about a story. I think a lot of times it's hard to imagine how do ear infections and chiropractic even have a conversation in common. And so your nerve system and your immune system are actually interlinked. And a lot of times when I was surprised by this when I took anatomy, because when you learn anatomy, everything is in parts. So if you imagine your body like a bunch of, nails and screws and, tools, just blah, all thrown out all over the table, that's the way they teach anatomy. You just have all these different parts. And some of them talk to one another. But really, we don't really look at the intricacy of the whole. And I think that's a really important thing for us to think about when we think about our parts. Your nerve system and your immune system, really, in modern science, they call it your neuroimmune system because it's one thing. So if your nerve system is depressed, your immune system will be depressed. And vice versa. So it's just really important to make sure that those two things work at optimal level. So for example, a child came in with their mom, and it was probably like a 4 or 5 month old. I'm not exactly sure how old the baby was, but they came in with like a really high fever and they'd had an ear infection. The mom said, I've tried a bunch of things and nothing is working. And I'm just getting really concerned, because it won't resolve. So in doing the history of what has been going on with this child, I asked, have there been any falls or accidents? And she just got this look on her face because just within that last week, there was a big fall where the baby fell off the changing table and whacked its head. And so in that moment, a bone went out of place in the neck, the first cervical vertebra, which is called atlas, and that pulled on the immune system because the nervous system was compressed there at the spinal cord. And so when I adjusted the baby, within a day, things had been resolved. And so we often see this, like babies resolve really quickly. And it's kind of amazing to us where ear infections can be helped a lot.
Right. And so one of the reasons why children get more ear infections than adults is, one, their immune system isn't as strong as an adult. And two, the nerves that are exiting the top of our spine, or atlas, as Dr. Pam just called it, exit from here and go to our inner ear. So during the birth process, sometimes even a quote unquote normal birth is a lot of trauma on the baby. It's a lot to come down the birth canal, get pulled and twisted to come out of the mom. And so oftentimes there could be a subluxation or a misalignment in the upper neck. That's going to affect how the ear is functioning and operating. So most of the time when we see children with ear infections or anything really suppressing their body or keeping their body from functioning at an optimal level, we're checking the top bones in the neck, because sometimes during that birth process, as I said, that bone may get misaligned. So that's where we work on restoring normal function to the child.
To just take that a step further, There was a study that was done by Ronald Perot, who's a PhD, and he did this over a course of 3 years. He was looking at different patients who had been getting adjusted, and he took the group who did get adjusted and measured their immune system, and their immune count was 200 times stronger than the group that did not get adjusted. And so that showed the efficacy of chiropractic adjustments to strengthen the immune system. They also had, in the group that did not get adjusted, they had some people who had challenges like cerebral palsy, MS, cancer, and that group had a 400-time weaker immune system than the group that got adjusted. So it's really significant what can happen in your nerve system. There have been other studies to look at like T cell counts and really specifically studying different cell counts as a result of adjustment. So that neuroimmune system, it's not theoretical. This is like actually happens.
Right.
Another thing I just wanted to talk about was the flu, because this is a related conversation. So in babies, they might struggle with ear infections, but adults might struggle more with the flu symptoms. And so we see often in the office, we'll hear stories where people will say, I didn't get sick. I get sick every year. And since I started coming for my shoulder or my knee, I didn't get the flu that I get every year, or I didn't get the cold that everyone else seems to be getting. And I was wondering if you wanted to just, talk about your experience with that.
Well, I hear that all the time. In fact, in one of our rooms in our office, we have a dry erase board, and we put different quotes up every week, different little tidbits or facts or studies. And this week we put a study up that said that the immune system has, as Dr. Pam said, a 200% boost in immune cell count when the person is under regular chiropractic care. And one of my patients looked at it and read it, and she goes, Dr. Steve, that's why I come. She goes, I used to come years ago because my low back pain, but now I come because I never, ever get sick anymore. She goes, I go through every winter, every season without getting a cold or sickness. Her allergies are better. Again, not that we're fixing or treating any disease, but when you restore the neuroimmune system to normal function, the body's capable of fighting almost anything and staying healthy.
Right. Like a lot of times people will say a phrase called, like they'll say, I caught that bug that's going around. Like you would just reach out in the air and just grab onto it like I caught that bug. And it seems sort of like magical and mystical in the sense that like we all live in the same house and one person can get sick but the rest of the people don't.
Right.
And I don't even like to use the word get sick because it's just that the body is trying to express that something isn't quite right in the engine. It's better for us to think about it that way. But really interesting thing about the flu, in 1917 and 1918, there was like a big flu, epidemic, and it was a problem because a lot of people died. And they did a study of people who had received chiropractic care versus people who had not. And the people who received chiropractic care had a 0.5 rate of death, 0.5% chance of death during that time, whereas people who did not get adjusted had a 20% rate. And no, I'm sorry, 5%. So you had a 20 times stronger chance of dying from the flu if you didn't get adjusted. That's pretty intense.
Right.
So I thought that was a worthwhile piece of research to share. So this is something that is well documented. It's not just theoretical.
Right. And a really big research study was actually done by the National Cancer Institute, and they state that nobody is doing absolutely everything they positively can for their immune system unless they're under chiropractic care. So even people who are fighting cancer, again, we're not treating the cancer, we're treating the body and having the body be stronger and healthier.
Right.
The body's going to be able to fight and combat different things when their immune system and their nervous system are functioning at an optimal level.
Yeah, really, that is a really good point. We're not treating anything. What we do is remove interference in the nerve system. So we do a series of tests in order to address any blockages that are in the nerve system and remove them and allow that nervous system to function at a higher level. So yeah, that's a great conversation, really important.
Yeah. So, the body is capable of doing it. It's capable of fighting off any sickness or disease when it's under optimal conditions. So, a sperm and an egg come together, and 9 months later, we have a human being. So all of a sudden, we think that the body's not capable of doing things. It's capable of forming itself. Nobody's telling it what to do. It just forms. Our body's smart, and is capable of fighting off sicknesses and diseases as long as we give it what it needs: exercise, good diet, sleep, positive flowing nerve system. Your body's capable of healing and adapting to the different stresses that are coming at it. So a quote that I like to say is, it's not the seed, it's the soil. So it's not the germ that we might be catching, but it's the soil. Is our body capable of adapting to whatever it's fighting?
Right.
And that's like you said, one person in the household can be sick and the other person can be healthy, because they might be exposed to the same germs, but somebody's soil is dirty. It's not capable of fighting off that disease.
Right. And again, they're not sick. You know, they might just be getting rid of the thing that is happening, and that's something different for us to think out of. Again, just like the car engine, you know, it's a signal from the body. Okay, so if you want more resources, like we've stated today, we've given you some research, and if you would like some more research to understand about chiropractic and its impact on your health and your family's health, you can go to our website, which is www.itsforyourlife.com/resources, and there is just tons of research and great information for you and your family's health.
So I hope you found this information really, really helpful.
In our Book Geek moment today, I'm covering a book called Healing and the Mind by Bill Moyers. This book is basically a compilation of interviews that Bill Moyers did with different scientists, chemists, about the new topic, well, relatively new in science. This is something that's happened in the last decade. It's a field of study that is called psychoneuroimmunology. And it's basically the study of stress, the immune system, and the nervous system, and how those things are interrelated. So a little bit about what we've been talking about on the show today. And so there's some great studies that are done about how those things are interrelated and really like behave as if they're holding one another's hands in your nerve system, so that when you're stressed, your nerve system will not function as well as it could, and neither will your immune system. So if you think about it, like if you're being chased by a bear, you're not going to be as alert to all the other things that are possibly going on around you, because you're really focused on getting away from that bear. And if you were being chased by a bear for a long period of time, you actually might start to feel sick as a result. That's the simplest way that I can explain what's in the book. But there's, you know, it's super meaty, really wonderful, very powerful stories of healing in